107.5 WBLS. Welcome inside of the warmth and comfort zone of the Quiet Storm, baby. That's Miss Mary J. Blige and My Life. And that's what we're going to be talking about tonight inside of Confessions of Love. Your life. If your life has anything to do with a child and problems in the relationship and it escalates into a paternity situation, it is nice to welcome back a dear lady who has found it within her heart to squeeze me into her hectic schedule. And her schedule is hectic because she wears a million plus one hats. I first want you to go online. So in case you cannot, if you want to really see us behind the scenes tonight, we have the cameras on. And I want you to see how beautiful this lady is, who's a judge on top of it. But go to lennygreen.com, click on See Lenny Live, or go to WBLS.com and click on the Quiet Storm page, and you will see us behind the scenes. It is nice to welcome a lady who's just too busy for herself, but she really manages to keep up with herself. The reason why is because not only is she, of course, a judge that we have grown to learn and respect and understand, but she is also, well, I know she used to sing back in the day, and we'll go over some of the many people who she used to sing for. But you're talking about a lady who is still an interior decorator. You're talking about a lady who is an author. You're talking about a lady who has a practice in New Jersey and probably still in Detroit. She's from the Motor City. She's a tough lady, and you see her on paternity court. It is nice to welcome back Judge Lauren Lake. Thank you for coming back. You're definitely a lady of your word. I could say that.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
It was great having you when you came by the first time. I enjoyed you so much that I thought this would be an ideal moment for us to kind of really engage into conversation, not only among ourselves, but hopefully get some of our listeners to call up. And you can call up no matter where you are. You can be in California, Detroit, Miami, toll free, 1-855-453-6694, 1-855-453-6694. But how do you keep up with yourself? Because you're doing everything under the sun.
You know, I'm a firm believer in living life limitlessly. I say all the time, you can do whatever you want in life. You just may not be able to do it all at the same time. And so I'm in constant workings with myself on balance. And some days it's difficult, but ultimately I've created a life where I love everything that I do. And I can't wait to wake up every morning and live and pursue my dreams.
Well, you're doing a wonderful job in fulfilling your dreams, and you're bringing a lot of balance, and you're giving a platform for a lot of folks to kind of vent and hopefully get their lives together. I said just a moment ago we're going to talk about life.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we're going to talk about a bad part of life, a bad part of life that involves a child in many cases when it comes to paternity. So the most common thing of it all is, how do we get to paternity court? Because of what?
Well, you know, in paternity court, it has become, evident that it's just about failed relationships. It's about people not being authentic with themselves, with other people, not communicating. Each and every day in the courtroom, when litigants walk into paternity court, I look and I say to myself, you know, this could happen truly to anyone. Because once we lose sight of ourselves, our esteem, what we're willing to tolerate, what we're willing to accept in a relationship, we're open to anything.
We are. We really are.
And we see it all the time.
Yes, we do. You wrote a tip line of how to avoid baby mama drama. And we'll get into how anyone can avoid that. Please join us online, though, because we're going to talk with Miss Lauren Lake, and we'll come back on air and talk with her and engage in further conversation. I do have a couple of scenarios I want to run by her online, so again, log online and enjoy us. But let's continue musically with The Essence of Love, and I know you love music because you're from the Motor City, inside the Quiet Storm, 107.5 WBLS. Thank you for watching and joining us online tonight. We really appreciate it in a great way. This lady, obviously, if you're looking at us online, then her face is definitely all over the tube, and you watch her weekday on her show, Paternity Court. And it's really blowing up. And
it is.
It tells me, you know, that was needed because there wasn't a lane for that publicly for people to kind of get on and you know, I mean.
Right.
certain issues.
There had been a void in terms of the way paternity had been handled. I'll say we needed a responsible, realistic, positive approach to a very difficult situation. And I was very thankful when the creator of Paternity Court, David Armour, called me and said, I believe you are the perfect judge for this courtroom because you don't just have the legal knowledge. You also have the ability to inspire and empower people to use the truth that we are going to give them to help better their lives. And so it's about the legal component, but more importantly, it's about the life component.
Mm. You used to be a criminal defense attorney, right?
Mm-hmm. Many years.
So how did you get into paternity?
Well, I'll tell you, as a sole practitioner in my hometown of Detroit, Michigan, I practice law in a myriad of areas. I've done real estate. I've done family law, which I still do, criminal defense work. And,
Still do that too?
No, actually, while I'm judge of paternity court, I just do that. Yeah. But I am licensed to practice in New York, New Jersey, and Michigan. But family law became a passion of mine because, it's about helping people realize that ultimately our family connections and our bonds are the most important things that we have, and respecting those things. As I represented clients over the years, I would also always have to sit down and say to them, look, you can continue to fight this out. You can continue to beat your head up against the wall. You can continue to argue, and the only person that's going to get paid is me. And I'm just keeping it real. And, I needed to make a living, but I also had to just be honest that sometimes I always say out of the legal resolution comes the emotional evolution. But you've got to figure out how to solve the issue first. And I bring those same skills, that same spirit into paternity court every day, because ultimately there's a child somewhere in the mix here. An innocent child that didn't ask to be here. And sadly does not know who one of their parents are, their father.
How do we do this?
And, I refuse to undervalue that. Every child, every person has the right to know who their parents are.
Yeah. And you're talking to one who does it. So I understand. And it's from being the child that has grown up. I mean, thank God for my family. Mm-hmm. Thank God for my mom especially. Because that missing element, as I've gotten older, I've learned how to be mature about it. Growing up, it was a challenge, as it is for most children. So believe me, I have the utmost respect for what you do. I'm so glad that you were destined and God opened up this path for you because you're definitely glowing in it.
Thank you.
So we're going to talk about a few things tonight.
Okay.
One thing, of course, we're going to talk about, which has been all over the news, has been the alleged Michael Jackson's son.
Yes.
And supposedly, there was a DNA that has been established, and it connects him to, obviously, Michael Jackson. What do you feel about this whole situation? Because my first questions are, at 30-some years old, now he surfaces to the forefront because no one really knew of him. They say the resemblance is there, but this is the resemblance. What I see of this young man is like after the work Michael Jackson has done to himself, over the years. When
this story came to the forefront, my immediate gut reaction was, this is not true. And I tweeted out, this appears to be more Hollywood than hopeful. This appears to be a hoax. And, as an attorney that's practiced family law for almost 20 years, and, I'm the judge of paternity court, I deal with DNA every day. As soon as they start talking about that they had gotten a dental fixture from an auction, that they tested, I'm thinking, where's the chain of custody of this particular dental thing? Where has it been? Has it been preserved? Has it been sealed? Has it been in a plastic bag? Or has it just been laying somewhere at an auction? And then when they had the press conference, I said, now this really doesn't look right. Because the way they were holding the envelope, they had no name attached to the records as it related to each piece of DNA. It was then determined that the logo on the actual envelope was something you could get like off of Google.
Mm-hmm.
And then later it was determined that whatever DNA they tested on this dental device really did not match B. Howard's, the alleged son's.
Right.
They then said they sent it to a laboratory in Ireland and had it retested, but then it was found out that that laboratory was a fraud. And then to make matters worse, B. Howard makes a video and says, I don't know anything about this. I gave the DNA, but I never said Michael Jackson is my father. Then they say Joe Jackson could be his father. So
that wouldn't surprise me.
You know, and look, and if I'm very honest,
Right.
I thought to myself, that probably could be more true than Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
However, you know, that's not a case that I'm here to judge, but simply state that it never made sense to me. It never added up.
And you know what? Out of everything that you just said, there's one missing element: the mother. Supposedly, allegedly, Mickey Howard.
And she came out saying, you know, I'm not Billie Jean. She made that clear because, you know, this story was sensational. You know, when we think about Billie Jean, that's just like, you know, everybody knows. And I remember growing up thinking, who is he talking about? You know, when I was younger. And so as they started putting the story together, and I could hear people going, yeah, now, because Billie Jean, and then they said Mickey Howard, they used to call her Billie. I mean, you know, people just started running with this story.
That was only because she portrayed Billie Holiday.
Exactly. And then she comes out and says, they don't call me Billie, and I'm not Billie Jean. So I think, you know, in some ways, it did a disservice to a very serious issue. And I think the only people that won were the owners of that website. And I won't do them the service of even repeating the name of it again because they got 3 days of great publicity. And I think that stunt was just for that.
Yeah. And what a hell of a stunt. And whoever, you know, finds himself on that website, more power to you. Well, let's bring things over to reality. The reality is Deborah Marshall hit us up on Facebook, and she said, what is shared custody? And what rights does the father have when they were never married? He wants shared custody. He lives in Eastern PA and currently sees his daughter when the mother lets him. However, he wants his parental rights to be equal with the mother's. He wants his daughter half of the time and his rights as a father, installed.
What she's talking about is joint legal and physical custody. And, you know, there used to be a time when physical custody pretty much automatically went to the mother, barring some circumstance that would warrant the child being placed with the father. And over the last decade or so, or even more fathers are saying, no, I want my child to live half of the time with me. I don't want just joint legal custody, meaning we share decisions in terms of schooling, medical care, education. I want the joint physical custody, meaning my child has a bedroom at my house. He or she can come half of the time with me, half of the time with the mother. But as it relates to support, it sometimes helps the father because support is based on income. And so if the incomes are similar, oftentimes it will negate support amounts. And I've seen situations where fathers have come out not owing as much child support because they have the joint physical and legal custody of their child, and they are taking care of that child just as much as the mother.
So that's determined based on income.
Well, the amount of support is always determined on income. Yeah, it's done through the family court system. There is a calculation, and it goes exactly like that based upon the incomes of both parents.
There are some situations where they say, you know, fathers have zero rights when it comes to paternity situations. Let's take this situation. Man and woman get together. They obviously were not married. Relationship goes bad. The woman is obviously impregnated by the man. Mm-hmm. He wants to be there at the time of delivery. The woman doesn't want him to be there. Does he have a right to be there?
there have been various rulings on that. And, it's very difficult because when a mother and father are not in a relationship and there hasn't been a paternity acknowledged, it becomes difficult. And the mother, as the patient, will have the right to decide who she wants in the delivering room and who she does not. And let's be very honest, that's a very challenging time for a woman. And, there are often situations, and look, like we see on paternity court, often where a man may truly believe in his heart of hearts that he is the child's father, and yet the mother is holding a secret that she is not willing to share at this point. And so she may know good and well, it ain't no use of him being in here because he's likely not the child's father. It gets so complex. And I think these are the kind of issues we uncover in our courtroom every day.
So let's say the woman is honest, because, we have situations where women hold this secret till the kid is like probably 3 or 4 years old.
And sometimes 30 or 40.
That's crazy. And that's crazy. You just threw me off on that one. And let's say, does the woman, can the father or the father-to-be ask for a prenatal?
Absolutely. The father can always petition the court for paternity. It's not just the mother always petitioning the court for a paternity test.
Okay, but I'm saying before the baby even comes.
Oh, for a prenatal paternity test. That's going to depend upon the health of the mother, and it is unlikely that a court is going to demand that a prenatal paternity test be done when it can be done when the child is born. Wow.
So that means if a woman had said, "I'm not, I'm not too sure who is."
But listen, we also have to be clear too, and this is why it's difficult sometimes to answer very general paternity questions, because paternity and family law issues are handled on a state by state basis, on a case by case basis. And so, as we begin to talk about things generally, I don't want people to feel like, oh, well, my case is lost, or, oh, well, I have no opportunity, because that may not be, in fact, the case in your state. And I always say, if you're having a paternity issue, if you're having a problem, seek legal counsel. If you can't afford it, then go to a free legal aid clinic, go to a local law school, where even when I was a law student, I used to work at the free legal aid clinic, where I would handle a lot of family domestic situations for free for people that couldn't afford them. A lot of times it was men, because they're, oftentimes with the law, you state the rule of law, but then the next breath you have to state all the exceptions to the rule.
Wow.
And so when family courts are determining what to do in a paternity situation, the best interest of the child is always first and foremost. And so most courts are not going to risk harming an unborn child. And look, there's always exceptions to every rule. Right. And a father can always petition for what he wants to petition for. But paternity tests in this country are more often done after the birth of the child.
So, fellas, that means you have to wait 9 months or better before you can actually make that determination if this child is really yours.
Usually.
Wow. If you have just joined us, this beautiful lady is Judge Lauren Lake. Of course, she's the judge from Paternity Court, which you see daily right here in the New York tri-state area. And, of course, check your local listings because, of course, she's coast to coast, north to south. And you're doing a wonderful job on this show and bringing a lot of awareness. Let's talk about, and deviate for just a moment, how men can avoid, or women can avoid, baby mama drama. You give some interesting tips on it. And the easiest tip and the most logical tip, which I didn't think you had to put in this book, is protect yourself during sex.
Yes. Ding. It's so,
I understand.
Undervalued, underestimated, but we probably wouldn't be here if you just did that simple thing. Protect yourself during sex. We see often in paternity court that, people are using sex like it's an extracurricular activity. Should we go to the movies, or should we go to the mall, or should we go bowling, or should we just have sex? No. The consequences for
People don't think about consequences anymore. Now, and it's not just a young generation thing, right? It's not just a young generation.
Oh, it's not just the younger generation. You know, if you really are honest, a lot of the younger generation have learned it from the older generation. A lot of young girls have learned it from their mother. A lot of young men have learned it from their fathers.
I want to go to the line. You can more than welcome to call in 1-855-453-6694. 1-855-453-6694. Let's go to line 2. Will. Hello. We lost Will. Judge Lauren Lake is with us tonight. We'll go back on air in just a matter of moments. Again, if you have any questions pertaining to, obviously, paternity, I'd like for you to give us a call, 1-855-453-6694. Some folks hit us up on Facebook and stated you are an interior decorator and also a therapist.
No, I'm actually a life coach and motivational speaker, so I'm not a psychologist.
Oh, there you go.
But as a lawyer, you are an attorney and counselor at law. So in that way, I do counsel people.
And when did you become a judge?
I'm not a judge. I'm a lawyer. I'm the judge of paternity court, but paternity court is non-binding mediation.
Oh.
So I do it as a family attorney, but it's called the judge of paternity court.
Interesting. Well, see, now we're getting everything cleared up because a lot of folks who hit us up on Facebook was asking and wondering when did you become?
Oh, no. I'm an attorney.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Gotcha. And you do have practices, as you mentioned a little earlier, still in Detroit.
Michigan, New York, New Jersey.
And New Jersey.
Yes.
You're just one busy lady. How can they reach you if they have an issue?
Well, right now I am the judge of paternity court, so I am not taking cases.
Wow.
This is what I want people to understand, and we talk about it often. In paternity court, we don't handle any small claims. These are very huge claims. They're family claims. They're claims about people, lives. And so I would never sit as judge and then also entertain other clients and make them think that they can be my first priority, which your client should be your priority. Yeah. So while I am helping to empower families on paternity court, I'm not taking on any cases in my private practice.
Does a father, have any right, once a child has been born, if he doesn't go through the system, I guess he doesn't have too much of a leg to stand on, right? Because if the mother should refrain from the child seeing the father or being a part of the child's life, he doesn't really have a leg to stand on unless he takes it legally.
If a father has been determined to be the biological father of a child, he automatically has the legal right to see that child and also the legal responsibility to help care for that child.
Suppose the mother.
But I was just about to get, now, if the mother is denying him that, his legal recourse is in the courtroom. He can't go just snatch the child. But what we encourage on paternity court and what I encourage as an attorney is to figure out how to dialogue and work it out, because ultimately people don't understand. You spend this money on the lawyers, you get into the court system, you wait for your court date, you get there and the judge looks at you and says, y'all go on ahead in the other room and try to work it out, you and your lawyers.
Whoa.
You done got all the way here and got your outfit together, got your story together. You ready to testify. And he tells you, hold on, or she tells you, before we get to all that, before I have to rule on it, go in there and work it out. And that's usually what happens. And I'll tell you what always happens if you don't do that. The judge is going to work it out for you. And usually somebody is not going to like the way that ended up. And I always say the courtrooms are full of these issues, and they don't want to hear these issues. They want people that have relationships that have gone wrong, but they've produced children, to figure this out on their own.
It really is obviously hard for them to do that. And I think you struck the chord early on in our conversation, communication.
Yes.
We have lost communication. We don't communicate anymore at all. We're talking through emails. We're talking through text. We're not even talking at all. And I think, the alien part of this entire scenario is the innocent child.
Yes.
And the child loses out every time. So egos come into play. Mm-hmm. And the child is just forgotten about, or, as you have stated, used as a pawn.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We see this in our courtroom every day. We have this monitor, in the courtroom. And we use it to show pictures of the children, because as the litigants stand in the courtroom, this person's saying, he's a deadbeat. He's never did anything for the child. And the wife, the mother is disagreeing. And the child is the most important.
107.5 WBLS. We're inside the Quiet Storm tonight. This is the Confessions of Love segment, and I am joined by the judge from Paternity Court, Lauren Lake, who is a legal and relationship expert, a lecturer, motivational speaker, author. I think you still hold the interior decorating title.
I had a show where I designed. Absolutely. It's a passion of mine.
Right?
I did.
Yeah. So she's doing her thing, but more importantly, she's empowering and opening up the eyes and minds of folks who are falling into circumstances because they just can't seem to get it together. And I don't know why we can't get it together, especially when it involves an innocent baby that needs not one, but obviously two parents to raise and to learn life about. But we fall into these situations, and I think because people are not getting to know who they're involved with, and they're just making quick physical decisions, and before you know it, you got the little baby here.
Yes.
So what do you say to those who are faced with a challenge where they really don't know who the father is?
That happens more often than we care to admit. And I think honesty is, the first step in doing the right thing and taking the right path to finding out the truth. Because there are many situations where the woman just really doesn't know. And I see it often where they say, well, I'm going to choose him to be a father because I just really wanted him to be the father. And I sit there and I say, but do you understand you can't unilaterally choose which one's the father when there's a biological question? You can't just choose because he's the one with the good job and he's the one with the good personality, and the bad boy that you had no business being with could possibly be the father. It's a question of biology now, and you don't get to unilaterally decide that. But a lot of women, they just don't understand that you have to be honest with yourself first.
So it's common sense first.
Yourself.
Pedro hit us up on Facebook. He says, why not ask why fathers have zero rights to their child, but a mother has all the rights? Why not ask why is an ex-wife entitled to 50% of the ex-husband's assets, but a father has to pay thousands of dollars to get shared custody of a child?
Okay, that question, I'm not sure exactly what he's getting at, but I will say again, it's hard to answer situations like this because on a state-by-state basis, things are different. Like in the state of California, you have a community property state. And maybe if he's talking about, is he talking about in a divorce, in a property settlement? I'm not quite sure. But I think the spirit of the question is that there is a presumption that the woman is the parent that is best able to take care of the child. There's a presumption that the woman will get the child and also be entitled to the support, and that he feels like it's unfair that for a father, in order for a father to assert his right and to really feel like he can own and operate under the law and exercise his right, he has to spend money to be validated.
Wow. But where did this law come from? That it's presumed that the woman is because she's the child bearer, carrier?
Well, listen, again, we're dealing with biology. There are certain basic things. Back in the day before we had baby bottles and pumps and everything else, there were a lot of children that when a child is first born, their mother is their nourishment. So having the child near the mother was a necessary thing because the child was eating from their mother. And the statistics have shown that children that breastfeed from their mother are healthier. They have less colds, less infections. There's so many reasons why children are with their mothers in the early months and years.
She's the paternity judge from, of course, Paternity Court. Her name is Lauren Lake, and she's with us tonight. 1-855-453-6694. We're going to be addressing a very interesting thing online. You watch Real Housewives of Atlanta. We're going to talk about Stevie J in just a matter of moments. Let's continue with the ear candy that you want inside the Quiet Storm. Back behind the scenes with the lady who holds it down in Paternity Court. Lauren Lake is with us tonight inside of the Quiet Storm. And you've watch reality shows?
I don't get to watch them very often, but however, as I comment on paternity issues, I often have to keep up with them because they run rampant there.
Oh, I'm sure they do. And there's one young man that has come to the surface, producer Stevie J, as you may be somewhat aware of. He's escalated a huge amount of money in owing child support. How does that happen? I mean, how does it get up? It's estimated, allegedly, maybe close to $1 million that he has not paid child support. Are they coming to paternity court to deal with child support issues as well?
No, at paternity court, we deal with the DNA issue, the issue of is he or is he not the father? But I often have to, in my rulings, put the father on notice that a certain amount of money is owed. Now that you've been determined to be the father of this child, you do owe this mother half of the money that was spent caring for this child up until this point. And also a support amount will be determined by the court of your home state. But I think it's important to understand as well how overwhelming the child support issues are for states. They are keeping up with thousands of individuals and trying to ensure that monies are being collected on behalf of children. And people fall through the cracks, especially people who are self-employed. It's very easy to do because when someone is employed by a company, oftentimes their wages can be garnished. It goes directly through the company. If you've ever paid child support in that way, you know it's deducted from your check. It's done. It's not for you to call up and pay later. It's deducted. It's sent back through the agency.
On that? What's the percentage?
That's calculated based upon state-by-state basis and on the income of both parents. There is
the income
no
of both parents?
golden rule. Yes,
Really?
As the income of the mother as it relates to the income of the father. And, it's the kind of thing where it changes and people can someone can lose their job. So the wages are being garnished, and then they lose their job. Maybe no fault of their own. But now, where are we getting the money from? Now, it's, of course, incumbent upon them to pay that support in those months in between.
Right.
But sometimes that doesn't happen, and it accrues.
Now, if a person should have a court date and they don't show up for that court date, what's the repercussions?
They can go to jail. And we don't seem to understand that. We had a man in paternity court that went to jail for 5 years, to prison for 5 years on a paternity-related issue for a child that he swore up and down that he knew was not his biological child. And yet, when he received the notice that he had a court date, he lived in a different state, and he said to himself, oh, well, I can't get there. I don't have the money to get there. And he just didn't go. Okay. And ultimately, the court pursued the case. He was named the father by default. And to keep long story short, after spending 5 years in jail, getting out of jail,
don't say what I think you're going to say.
Paying support for 15 years or so, we determined in our courtroom he was not the child's biological father.
Are you kidding me?
Not kidding you. Not kidding you. Mansur Sear. Mr. Mansur. It happened in our courtroom. And I'll tell you, I had to, as devastated as we were for him, as much as it even hurt us to see, he sat in prison for 5 years and he was named the father by default. So legally he was the father and responsible. But I had to get him to admit, if you just would have shown up and given your DNA sample when you were that young, it was one of them spring break situations, get together, you go back home to your state, she goes back home to her state. If you would have just shown up, this would have never happened.
Wow.
When the court comes a-calling, you answer because there are consequences. There are default judgments.
Wow.
You can't just not show.
Yeah, well, we learned that tonight and we didn't know before. You're taking me on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Lauren Lake from Paternity Court is with us tonight. 1-855-453-6694. I'm still having a hard time digesting that one. We're definitely going to take a couple of calls that are waiting for us online tonight. Yeah. We have anybody on hold? No. Okay. Yeah, we'll go up. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. Please avoid it if you can. soft and warm, nice and comfortable on this cold night. Welcome inside the Quiet Storm. Welcome inside the Confessions of Love. We are joined by the judge from Paternity Court. Lauren Lake is with us tonight. You wrote a book back in 2009.
I did.
Girl, let me tell you. What inspired that book and why?
Dr. Bill Cosby. I was on the road with him, traveling, speaking, doing empowerment work on his call-out tour. And I was single at the time. And he asked me, he says, Miss Lake, you're single. Why is a woman like you still single? He goes, back in my day, a woman like you would have 3 or 4 men waiting to marry. I said, oh, really? This show ain't happening now, right? And so I would begin to talk to him about the challenges of learning how to balance my professional life with my personal life, being, a very outspoken, vibrant, I'll use that word politely, woman that's not afraid to speak my mind, that some men kind of had a problem with that, and they quite feeling me. In a nutshell, I'd have several men say, I would marry you, but for your mouth. if you just didn't have that mouth. Brothers, huh? And so, long story short, I would have him laugh, and he goes, it's funny, and yet it's sad, but you're laughing your way through the process, and you're giving nuggets of empowering advice, and you should write a book because there's so many women that are in the same situation. I ended up meeting my husband, getting married, and so I wrote the book. Look, when Bill Cosby tells you to do something, you just do it. I wrote it, and so many women were they were inspired by it because they're funny stories just in the book that really happened to me,
Share one of them with us.
It's called one of them's called The Mysterious Case of the Half a Pack of Turkey Bacon. And that's when you're dating this guy and he don't cook. And he don't cook. So you all go grocery shopping, you buy this turkey bacon. Now it's in there, right? Now you haven't cooked it, so you leave, you do your work, couple days, you think you're a couple. Well, not you, it was me. It really happened to me. I come back, and a few days later, I go into the refrigerator, and I said, now it's a half a pack of turkey bacon now. Now, I know he don't cook. This man has never cooked. So I said, who cooked this turkey bacon?
Here we go.
Okay. Long pause. Long. I did. Now, that's a lie. Right. Body language all off. I said, well, we know this is a lie. And there are these moments, in life where what you're dealing with. Can't nobody tell you anything different. And those moments where you kind of feel like this is what you get for playing house before you have a husband. Wow. Because truthfully, I don't need to be doing your grocery shopping anyway. I need groceries in my own house. And I need to fry the bacon in my own house because I can buy it, I can fry it, I can keep it in my own refrigerator. But here I am trying to play wife before I have a ring. And even if it's not your intention, we get into these roles that as women we love, and we want to help. We want to, we cook. But ultimately, I was feeling some kind of way. Because how am I cooking one half and somebody else cooking the other half? That's not going to work.
That takes me back to another reality show where the brother changed. He doesn't do housework, but he changed the sheets on his bed. But there was lipstick and makeup, a mess. And I'm not going to say.
And knowing him, he probably left it in a visible spot where when the girl came back, she immediately noticed. Saw it. Classic.
Lauren Lake is with us tonight, 1-855-453-6694. This is the Quiet Storm. We'll hold her for just a little while longer before we let her go. But thanks for joining us tonight. The Quiet Storm, soft and warm, nice and comfortable. Lauren Lake, you're doing some wonderful things. 2014 is off to a wonderful start for you.
Yes.
What new and exciting things, aside from paternity court, that you might be working on that you share with us?
Well, I have embarked on my Limitless Living Empowerment Tour. And as much as I love being the judge of paternity court and I love empowering families and helping mothers be better mothers and fathers be better fathers, I also like to come down off of the bench and really talk with people and get in rooms with people, whether it's at a university or in an intimate setting, where I can talk to people about their lives, their dreams, and how to live life limitlessly. And so I kicked off that tour in January, and we've just been so excited to receive such an overwhelming support. And I've met and networked with some really powerful, amazing women that are going to come on board and help to spread the word that it's possible to live your dreams, pursue your dreams, and still be that great wife, mother, friend, sister, daughter, and also for men as well, that there is value in owning and acknowledging your passions, and that's how you find your purpose in life.
We need that. We always need empowerment. I speak for men, obviously, we need a lot of empowerment. I commend you ladies who do that because I see these seminars and conventions all the time.
Yes.
And I really think it really makes a difference in people's lives. So I commend you for your efforts and what you're doing. What can you speak into the ears and to the minds that are watching and listening to us right here, right now, especially the young women who may be lost, who don't see far beyond next week?
I think all of us at some point in our life have gotten to the point where we become complacent, become comfortable. And whether you're comfortable in a relationship that you know you shouldn't be in, but you just can't figure out how to get out, or you get comfortable in that job because now you made the bills, so now you got to stay at the job when you know it's not your passion and you're miserable every day when you wake up, or you become comfortable in the dysfunction of a bad relationship that you created, or you become complacent with a lie that you know you told, but you're too much of a coward to tell the truth. We get stuck in these ruts. And I always tell people that you have to find the courage in life at some point to have the faith to step off of that cliff of complacency and free fall into possibility, because you have to take that leap of faith. And that leap of faith is often, even though I quit this job, I know I'm going to find a way to pay my bills. I know God will make a way. I know I will make a way. I will live my dreams and this will be true. I am going to tell this person the truth, and I'm going to believe in my heart they're going to find it in their hearts to forgive me. I am going to live my dreams despite the fact that everybody else wants to put me in a box. I refuse to live in other people's boxes, because other people's boxes are just that. They're for them. They're not for you. And oftentimes, if a person is trying to put you in a box, it's because they want company.
Wow. They don't want to see you grow.
They're in it. No, they're in there. And what loves company? Misery.
Misery, yeah.
Nobody wants to be there.
So stepping out on faith is something that's very hard to do. Some Christians have a hard time doing it as well.
Absolutely.
It's hard to walk by faith.
It is. And yet, it's like riding a bike, I've found in my life. And I talk about these things, you know, as I have my empowerment seminars and I do my limitless living seminars. It's just like riding a bike. Once you learn how to do it and you find that rhythm of it, you learn how to practice it. And just like, I haven't ridden a bike in years, and yet I can get on a bike and I can still ride it, meaning you might have an obstacle or something that requires you to push that button of faith where you really got to dig in and believe, and yet you've done it before, and so you do it again. And you know that ultimately everything's working out for your good as long as your intentions are true, your spirit is authentic, and your dreams are real and honest to who you are and who you want to be. I believe we just all have a purpose, and it's our responsibility to find it. You know, a lot of times people say to me, well, Lauren, I'm trying to walk in my purpose and I'm just waiting on the Lord. And I say, hold on one second. Now you're lying, because you're not waiting on the Lord. Lord waiting on you to get up out that bed, to get up and get on that treadmill, to put that remote down and stop watching TV. He waiting on you to pick up a book and learn your craft. He waiting on you to go out and do an internship for free if you really feel like you want to learn something. Stop sitting around talking about it and be about it. Don't keep telling me what you waiting on.
The wisdom of Lauren Lake, ladies and gentlemen. That is a stellar empowerment moment if I've never heard one before in my life. That's for sure. Let's grab a young lady who's on the line. Line one, Linda. Linda.
Yes.
Hi, Linda. Say hello. Say hello to Lauren Lake, Linda.
Sorry.
Say hello to Lauren Lake.
I have to wait till tomorrow.
No.
Linda.
Say hello to Miss Lauren Lake.
Oh, hello, Judge. How you doing?
Hey, I'm well. How are you?
All right.
Question.
My question is, there's a friend of mine who claims old-time soul singer is her father, and it's unmistakable because they look so much alike. I wonder, could I tell her anything she can do to claim so he can know that he's her father and get some of the family fortune?
Oh, wow.
He seemed like he don't know she existed, and she was me when they were teenagers. Her mother and him were teenagers.
Okay, is this soul singer still alive?
Yeah, he's still alive. Yes, he is.
Okay, because we just had a case like that recently on paternity court with the Shy-Lights. Some of the, from the lead singer of the Shy-Lights, some of the children came on, and it ended up being that all of them were
related?
All of them were his children, and it was actually quite wonderful because they really didn't think they were. What I would say is if, first of all, I hope it's not just about the fortune. If the man is still alive, hopefully you would want to connect and get to know your father. So do they have a way to reach out to that person? If they have a way to reach out to them, I would do that because, again, it's very costly to go to court with a situation like this, especially after so many years. Now, has this man ever acknowledged that this person was their father?
Seems like he went on the road right after the mother. And
so do you know if he knows if the child even existed? Because we see that often, too, where the mother never tells the father that he has a child.
Wow.
I think that's what it is. The mother never told the father, but she told the daughter that was her father.
Wow. I think this is a situation where I think it needs to be handled in a very human way. And if there's a way to reach out to this man, before we get to the point where I'm demanding a piece of the fortune and we go crazy. You don't even really know if that's the case, and you don't know if the man wouldn't be amenable to finding out if he has a child. And I think that's what we get wrong so often. We assume a man's always trying to dodge his responsibility to be a father, and that's not true. We see so often on paternity court, there are men that stand there with bated breath, hearts beating, and I hate to deliver the news to them that a child that they want to be theirs isn't theirs. And so you never know until you really deal with it in a human, authentic, true way, and to see what happens. But I'll tell you what, saying that I want a piece of the fortune ain't it. So tell your friend, if they really want to find their father for their father's sake, not for his fortune.
Okay, then I'll tell her.
Thanks for calling, Linda. Appreciate the call.
All right, thank you.
Ms. Lauren Lake, for the folks that are watching us online, before we shut this down for a moment online, please, again, share with everyone how they can connect with you. And
Sure. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Lauren Lake ENT, which is short for Lauren Lake Enterprises. And you can follow Paternity Court at Paternity Court on Facebook and Twitter, and at Paternity Court TV on Instagram. And please continue to watch us at 3 and 3:30 on WLNY here in New York. We so appreciate all of your support.
Well, you know what? On the millions of people that do watch you and what you have done, again, I commend you for all that you do and keep doing your thing in a great way.
Thank you.
We look forward to seeing a lot more of you, and we look forward to this tour that's going to be extended, and the people that are going to continue to embrace and get on your bandwagon to uplift you in many ways.
Thank you so much.
Miss Lauren Lake, we're going to hold her at bay for just a little bit, though, before we let her go.